speak today on the subject presented in the book, Easy Journey to Other Planets. This may seem quite exotic to you, but actually, if you consider the matter with an open mind, you'll see that the subject matter is quite accessible, quite normal. Om Jnana Chinadandasya Jnanam Jana Shalakaya Chakshu Amritamena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasudeva Gaura Bhakta. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. First, let us consider that everyone, whether they are conscious of it or not, are destination conscious in terms of where we want to live and where we want to go. If you just walk out the doors here, you'll see so much traffic, so many persons walking here and there on a Sunday afternoon. They're coming here because they have a certain vision in mind. They want to achieve certain things, and they want to have certain kinds of experiences. So just as persons will come to Laguna Beach for that, and go to the art festival, and so on. Similarly, the Vedic texts, especially Srimad Bhagavatam, and also Bhagavad Gita, describe destinations. But the destinations are not simply earthbound. It is a natural tendency of the human being to want better living circumstances. That's why people go from one country to another. They move from one section of the city to another section because they're always looking for a better circumstance. So we should apply the same principle to the whole universe. Why restrict it simply to Earth? Now you say that we don't have any experience of life anywhere else other than Earth. But your experience comes to you by the way of your senses. And our senses are so limited. You're like filters. They only allow a certain spectrum of reality to come upon us. Everyone knows how dogs can hear sounds that you can't hear. Cats can see things in the dark that you can't see. So our senses are actually just limiters that limit our experience. So what texts like Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam do for you is that they open up your experience far beyond the range of your senses. Some people are ready for that. Others, they are very stubborn. I don't want to know anything special. I don't want to know anything beyond what I consider to be the practical necessities of life. I just want to pay the rent, pay the mortgage, put food on the table, enjoy the senses, be entertained, and that's all. Well, for that kind of person, obviously the knowledge of Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam will not be very relevant. Not everyone is like that, though. either due to experience in the previous life or just due to good fortune or curiosity. Many persons, they want to know the answer to the big questions. Answering the big questions of life. Who are we? Where are we coming from? Where are we going? In the ultimate sense. Doesn't seem to be very financially remunerative these days. But then you might consider what is so financially remunerative these days. If you judge everything by financial value, if you judge everything by how much whatever you're doing is going to enhance your economic opportunity, if you judge everything by its economic value, that tactic is becoming quite simple these days as economic value collapses. I was just reading how for college graduates these days, unemployment is high, and if you do get a job, starting salaries are low. And therefore, 40% of college graduates will go back home to live with mother and father. So, even if you just want to think about economic potential as the judge or the criterion for what is really important, your options are getting limited. In any case, whether you think your present circumstances are economically profitable or not, we should realize the practical value of answering the big questions in life. I remember one teenager. She was 16 in high school, and she was asking one of her teachers for answers to the big questions. Who are we? Why are we here? What is life? Is life just on earth? And the teacher told her that you're asking questions like that simply because you are a teenager. But when you become an adult, you'll stop asking those kinds of questions. When you mature, you will not think anymore. And then you'll be a very valuable member of society. But for now, you're asking so many questions, and it's because you're still too young. You haven't realized the impracticality of inquiry. Bhagavad Gita is full of questions. Srimad Bhagavatam is full of questions. And the answers are also there. Sometimes people think that it's a lower position if you have answers, and they think it's a higher position if you simply ask questions with no answers. In other words, someone who seems to have found some answers, people tend to look down on that kind of person. Because after all, no real answers are possible. So if you think you found some answers, you must be deluding yourself. The whole point of life is just to ask questions, realizing that there's never any conclusive knowledge. There's never any real answers. That is the most advanced person. Now let us consider what Krishna is presented in Bhagavad Gita. It's quite a challenge. It has everything to do with place, location. The first verse of Bhagavad Gita states, Dharma Cheche Kuruchetre Samaveta Yuksa. What's going to happen at this place called Kurukshetra? Dhritarashtra was very concerned about the location. He was worried that the location might influence his sons to be pious. That's the last thing he wanted. So right in the first verse of Bhagavad Gita, you have the realities of a particular location. And then, as you go deeper into Bhagavad Gita, Krishna makes a most astonishing statement. Imam Vavashtate Yogam Proktavan Aham Avyayam Vivaswamave Prava Manar Spakave Pravit. Krishna says, I spoke this knowledge of Bhagavad Gita millions upon millions of years ago to the president of the sun planet. So right then and there, you have a challenge. Is Krishna speaking mythology? Is Krishna himself mythology? Who has ever met the president of the sun planet, the chief living entity who lives in the fire on the sun planet? But Krishna says, I spoke Bhagavad Gita to him, and now, because in the course of time, that knowledge has become lost. I'm speaking it again. So right then and there, you see that Bhagavad Gita is a non-earth-bound book. Vedic knowledge, Vedic culture is interplanetary. It recognizes that all planets have their own life forms. Krishna points out in the second chapter of Bhagavad Gita, when he describes the living entity, he describes the spirit soul as unborn, primeval, never slain when the body is slain. And he also says, Sarvagata, the living entity, can be found everywhere. Not simply earth. Sometimes people think that this earth is so special because it's the only planet which has life. Or for sure, it's the only planet that has intelligent life. Because now people are starting to wonder how intelligent are the human beings on this planet. Because as I often point out, they have the great honor. Human beings have the great honor of being the first species to destroy its own habitat. Animals don't do that. Insects don't do that. But human beings have become a force so powerful and warped that they're destroying the very bed that they sleep in, the very house that they live in. So, indeed, the question is there intelligent life on Earth? Bhagavad Gita explains that according to your particular type of body, you can inhabit certain locations. Your location possibilities are based on your garment. Understanding how the universe is arranged like that will help us to not frustrate ourselves trying to make this earth into something it isn't. Most of you know the Vedic classification of the universe into upper, middle, and lower planets. And the kind of life that each of those three planetary systems brings in general. The upper planets are very heavenly. Srila Prabhupada once explained that even if you look on this earth planet, you'll find different places are very heavenly and different places are very hellish. For example, about Hawaii, Srila Prabhupada said, if there's one place on earth that's heaven, it's Hawaii. And then on the same earth planet, there are places that you never want to live, like North Korea. Do you know that in North Korea, everyone has to have a television set. And the television set is, of course, preset at the factory to only get official government stations. And the funny thing about the TV sets that each home has to have is that you can't turn them off. So 24 hours a day, the television sets are just broadcasting, propaganda. And you just can't turn it off. You can't change the channel. So, yes, you say that's a hellish place to live. So even on this earth planet, you can perceive varieties of neighborhoods. So the whole cosmos is like that. Srimad Bhagavatam explains. The heavenly planets have material pleasures far beyond what we could imagine. And then there are the lower planets, which have distress, constant distress far beyond what we can imagine. And then there are the middle planets, and Earth is one of those, where everything is mixed. Sometimes there's happiness, sometimes there's distress. Knowing that that's the nature of the Earth planet, you understand what to expect. You won't expect a life of smooth sailing, and generally you won't expect that there'll just be disaster after disaster and no trace of happiness. There'll be a mixture of material happiness and material distress. So things will always be fluctuating. And yes, it does get kind of frustrating sometimes, because you think, well, why can't I just have happiness all the time? Or, will I just be distressed all my life and there'll never be any happiness? It may feel like that sometimes, but you'll always be able to look back and see that somehow or other you are getting a mixture. Even in the strangest situations to live in on this earth, you'd be getting a mixture of happiness and distress. I remember traveling to the northernmost ISKCON center, far above the Arctic Circle, Murmansk, Russia. And you would consider that completely hellish. Those of you living in Laguna Beach and surroundings, you can't imagine that 2 weeks of summer per year. And outside of those 2 weeks, you have 50 weeks of winter. And not like a Laguna Beach winter. That means snow and cold, and the snow piling up as high as the second floor of your house, so that if you want to walk outside, you just open the second floor window, and you'll see people walking by on top of the snow. You're looking at your second floor window. So you just open, instead of going downstairs and out the front door, you just go out through your second floor window and join the people who are walking by on top of the huge piles of snow. And the temperatures go so far below zero. How do I translate it into Fahrenheit? What does 50 minus 50 Celsius equal in Fahrenheit? You have any engineers here? No scientists?
Minus 60.
Minus 60 Fahrenheit. You can't conceive of that. So I asked the devotees there, how do people live in such a situation with just 2 weeks of summer? And outside those 2 weeks is just freezing cold. So how do they enjoy? The devotees told me, don't worry, somehow or other, they pull it off. I said, well, how do you enjoy when it's minus 60 outside? Oh, just turn up the heat and enjoy your senses like they do everywhere else. We can't conceive of such situations, but they exist. If you would describe to the devotees who live in this northernmost city, where there's an ISKCON temple, far above the Arctic Circle, if you would describe life in California to them, they would think it's mythology. You would describe the Laguna Beach and they think, well, this is fantasy. Who could believe that? So what you consider mythology is all relative. Just like it's hard for you to believe a place that is ice cold winter 50 weeks out of the year, and there's just 2 weeks of summer. If you happen to just, let's say for some reason you're bedridden, you're sick, and you can't go outside for 2 weeks, you miss summer completely. You can't conceive of that. And missing summer doesn't mean it's a long spring and a long autumn. No, just 2 weeks of sunshine, and then miserable cold. Hey, this is mythology. Who could live in such a place? Yet people find some material happiness there, because this is the middle planetary system. Mixed happiness and distress. Understanding that, you can position yourself accordingly. That is my point. In other words, to materially understand your situation, that means don't expect constant happiness. And also don't expect constant distress. You're always going to be up, down, fluctuations all the time. You'll notice even persons who are physically comfortable, their mind is disturbed. Because that's the way it is in the middle planetary system. So understanding the Vedic vision of the universe has great practical value. You know what to expect. You understand the neighborhood that you're living in. You know, in this neighborhood, there's going to be some good times and bad times. Now, in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna's inviting you. Please change neighborhoods. He talks about the different destinations, letting us know that the Bhakta, the Krishna conscious person, is very destination conscious. None of you just drive around aimlessly without caring where you're going. You have your GPS system if you need that. You're checking the traffic reports. You're aware of what's going on in terms of where you're going and how to get there. Well, the Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam want you to think about a wider destination consciousness in terms of where are you going as a spirit soul. What will your next body be? Where will your next body be, whatever body you get? We're not supposed to just dismiss these questions. These questions form the most practical issues in life. Just like those of you who are parents, you expect your children to have some destination in mind in terms of career goals, what they want to do. I remember as an 8-year-old boy, my mother would always get me books written for children. Your future as an engineer, or your future as a banker, or your future as a stock market analyst. And the relatives, the aunts and uncles would always ask me, what do you want to be? Have you thought about it? I was just 8 years old. You should think about it. What do you want to be in your future? And I would just say something. I was just 8 years old. I would just say something whimsically. Oh, I think I had an idea. I saw that chemical engineers, they wear these helmets, when they're at the refineries and chemical plants. So I thought that would be very nice to wear such a helmet. So then I told my relatives, I want to be a chemical engineer. Oh, wonderful. Immediately they raced off to the bookstore, came back with a book, Your Future as a Chemical Engineer. So we can see that destination consciousness does occur. But Krishna wants to widen that destination consciousness to not just something within the confines of a career destination or a neighborhood destination on this planet. But Krishna wants you to think of the whole range of possibilities in the whole universe and beyond. So he says in Bhagavad Gita, Yanti Devamrita Deva Pitrinyanti Pachivata Bhutani Yanti Bhuteja Madbhaktin Ajinokima. Those who worship the demigods, they go where the demigods are. They go to that neighborhood. Those who worship the ancestors, they go to a neighborhood where people who are attached to their ancestors reunite with them. There's a neighborhood for that. You'll find ancestor worship throughout so many cultures in this world. And there is a particular part of the universe where persons who are so attached to being with their ancestors, they can meet up with them. If they do the right rituals, if they have the right karma, they go through the right process. Bhutani Yanti Bhuteja. Those who worship ghosts and spirits, they go to hang out with such creatures. It's not simply that aboriginals in the forests are the ones who worship ghosts and spirits. No, you'll find it even in opulent areas like Laguna Beach. You'll find very affluent people who are very curious about contacting spirits on the other side, as they say. And often they think that they're talking to their deceased relatives, when actually they're simply talking to ghosts and spirits that are playing games with them. Because their departed relatives, for the most part, are not in a body that will allow the communication with their relatives here in human form on earth. It's not guaranteed at all that everyone who gives up their present body will get a human body again. I was walking with Srila Prabhupada once in Santa Monica, and devotees asked him the question, what will be the destination of most persons in Kali Yuga? What will be their next body? And Srila Prabhupada replied, most of them will take an animal birth. So, who are these persons who want to communicate with those who have, as I say, passed to the other side? Who are they talking to? They're not talking to the relatives. They're talking to ghosts and spirits who play the part and play the role just to make mischief or just to confuse everyone because they have nothing better to do. They don't have a gross body. Anyway, we're just explaining that. Not to mystify you, but to point out that's why Krishna says, Bhutaniyanti bhuteta, those who worship ghosts and spirits, they go to such entities. But those who worship me, they go to me. Krishna is saying, they go to my neighborhood, my personal neighborhood. So this way, Krishna is pointing out to you, you have to be selective. Just like when you're applying to go to university, or you want to go try and buy a house, or you want to at least rent a house. You have your options, you hope, and you make decisions. You want the best possible situation for your education, for your residence. So Krishna in Bhagavad Gita is telling you, this whole universe is full of possible destinations. And also beyond the universe, there are possible destinations. So you should try for the best. And Krishna presents his neighborhood as the best. That's why we sing Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Gopi Jana Ballabha Giridharidhar. In that song, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur is giving you the perfect picture of Krishna's private neighborhood, so that you'll be attracted. Just like when you look at the homes section of a newspaper, or you look on the internet, the advertisements are there to attract you. You should live here, it has all facilities for you. Or retirement homes, retirement areas. You'll be perfectly secure here. They're trying to attract you according to your particular mentality. I remember even seeing an advertisement for a housing project which considered itself to be very much in tune with the social realities of these days. As you know, the family is breaking apart. The traditional nuclear family is becoming more and more uncommon, as today in the USA, more than 50% of children do not live with both of their original parents. And I was pointing out in San Diego at the Krishna Lounge on Thursday, the statistics, more than 50% of the first marriages end in divorce. And then for second marriages, it's 65%. And for third marriages, it's 75%. So, in this way, the family is becoming very extinct. So anyway, still people want a destination. They want a location. That is the point. So this advertisement for the housing development was taking into account the current realities, and it said, just see the glories of this particular house in this development that you can buy. The whole development is like this. This house has 5 internet alcoves where each member of the family can just lose himself or herself in the internet and won't have to deal with anyone else in the family. Internet alcoves are separated by big distances, so you can just sit at your own internet alcove day and night and just forget about everyone else. And it also described that the houses in this development have the office for the man on the far opposite side of the house of the woman, and that way they don't have to deal with each other. And then the catch line for the whole advertisement was, "This is the perfect home for today's dysfunctional family." So some people would say, "Hey, we might as well just face it. That's the way things are. We'll just design houses to take that into account." So again, destination. This is my point. It is not unusual, Bhagavad Gita's efforts to get us to be destination consciousness. Krishna wants you to come to his neighborhood. And the material energy is telling you, no, stay in the Maya neighborhood. You don't want to go to Krishna. Who is Krishna anyway? Can you really believe that Krishna has a neighborhood? Even if you do accept that Krishna has a neighborhood, get serious. You're no saint. You'll never go there. So this way, the material energy puts propaganda in our mind that it's not practical to go try to live with Krishna. That's not practical at all. Just try to enjoy where you are and don't worry about anything else. Whatever happens in the future will happen. You may go to Krishna, you may not, but anyway, just try to be a good person in your own way. That's the main thing. So we become distracted. We are put on a detour in this way because our mind is not fortified by knowledge from Krishna. Simply by hearing from Krishna, we can keep our bearings. The GPS system is hearing from Krishna. Krishna tells you where to go and how to go so that you don't become off track. I don't think anyone here has ever gotten on an airplane without knowing where you are going and don't even care. The airplane takes off and someone asks, so I take it that person's meeting you when the plane lands? I don't know. I don't know why I'm on this plane or where it's going. I'm just coming along for the ride. I'm taking it all as it comes. No one gets on a plane with that kind of mentality. No. You get on the airplane particularly to go to a particular destination. Would you say, it doesn't matter where the airplane is going. I'm just here to watch the movies on the screen and get nice, tasty airline food. That's why I'm on the plane. Where it goes is not important. I'm just relishing what happens during the flight. That's all. I'm taking it as it comes. Maybe I'll meet some interesting people on the flight. Maybe I'll meet a nice person. And even though we'll separate when the plane lands, because I don't even know where the plane is going, at least for a few moments we had a good time. What would you say to that kind of a life? You would say, this is crazy. Why do you get on an airplane without knowing where you're going? You should want to know where you're going so that you have a plan when you get off the airplane. And furthermore, flying on an airplane is so uncomfortable. Why do you want to make a be-all and end-all about the airplane flight? No, you're undergoing this inconvenience to get to a destination. Like sometimes you've all had the experience of being on an airplane and sitting next to someone who ordinarily you would never sit next to. And what do you tell yourself? Well, it's not the kind of person I'd like to sit next to, but it's just a 2-hour or 3-hour flight. I'll tolerate it because at the end of the flight, I won't have to be around this person. So similarly, sometimes in material life, you have to deal with persons who are not very favorable, who are not to your liking. But you tolerate it because you know it's just for a short lifetime. So this way, if we keep our destination in mind, if we understand our destination, the rest of our life easily can become clarified. But please bear in mind what the material energy, the illusory energy of Krishna tries to do. It tries to just get you to think it's not practical to think about your next destination. Time. you have very important things that should take all your attention now. And that's simply dealing with the here and now. Why worry about what happens when you give up your body? It has no relevance. This propaganda is constantly entering into our mind. So therefore we need knowledge from Krishna to keep us sharp. Just like good parents expect their children to be on top of the job situation and what the latest trends are. Similarly, Krishna, as the supreme seed-giving father, expects you to be on top of all the possible destinations you could have, especially his personal destination. I remember as a young boy, there was a time in the 50s when there was a huge shortage of school teachers. So everyone was advised, if you want to get a job for sure, go to college and get teacher training, and you'll get a cushy job all your life. So many people took up teacher training, and by the time they finished their 4 years at college, what happened? By that time, the shortage had been filled, and there was an oversupply of teachers. The same thing with engineers in the 50s. Parents were told, advise your child to be an engineer. There's an extreme shortage of engineers. Even my mother, she was wanting me to go to an engineering specialist high school in New York, although it wasn't my aptitude. But still, engineering is where the money is. You get a job for sure. There's a huge shortage of engineers in the USA. And a few years later, too many engineers. What are we going to do? So, good parents try to aim their children to the right destination. Go to the right school, go to the right job situation. And Krishna, as the supreme father of all living entities, wants you to go to the best destination. And he wants to give you the education and preparation to go to the best destination. He wants you to come with him. He wants you to come and be his friend, come and be his parent, come and be his lover. Or if you like, you can be a flower that grows in Goloka Vrindavan. And when you become part of Krishna's garland, you always stay increasingly fresh. You don't decrease in freshness, you increase in freshness. And when you're a flower laying at Krishna's feet, you're thinking, oh, there's nothing better than this. So, Krishna's inviting you. Come to the topmost destination. Why put so much attention on such a short life? In the middle planetary system, where there's always going to be mixed happiness and distress. Yet, in Srimad Bhagavatam, in the 5th canto, it is stated that the demigods, the devas, in the high planetary system, they would rather take birth on earth. And they pray that if they have any pious activities, any good karma left in their karmic bank account, when they finish their time in the heavenly planets, they say, we want to take birth on earth. Because the heavenly planets, they're just too luscious. The enjoyment is just too intense. We can't focus properly on our need to become Krishna conscious. Whereas the earth is the perfect place. You live a short life, you do everything according to Krishna's instructions, and you go back to God after a short time. Whereas the heavenly planets, life just goes on and on and on. And the enjoyment is so intense, you easily forget all about Krishna. So in this way, we can see that both Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam contain the most appropriate destination information. And And the real goal of human life is to take that destination information so seriously. Families should impart that kind of knowledge to their children. Governments should impart that kind of knowledge to their citizens. Destination information. Just like if you are a tourist and you're wondering, what is going on at the destination, Laguna Beach? You go online, there's a Laguna Beach visitors website, and they tell you, oh, there's an art festival, there's this, there's that. So Krishna is also giving you tourist information. You come and tour the spiritual world, and you'll never go back again. Once you come to me, you never return. That's Krishna's type of tourism. So let us take this information very seriously and think how destination consciousness is a practical part of our life. It has to be. In this way, we can maximize our full human potential in association with Krishna. Are there any questions? It is an exotic subject matter, but I thought to try and show you how it is very practical. Yes.
Can you come to focus on the destination? Can you take your attention away from being in the moment where sometimes you're experiencing some